Where are we now? We've now got £1 million in the bank, and I'm talking to my bank and saying you're not giving me enough interest rate on my £1 million. So how are we doing this? Very quickly, because Mark wanted to guillotine us at past. We focused on cash, and we rebuilt the balance sheet. We had the major staff reductions, as I said, with the MBO. We gave up all luxuries. I was running a box at Gloucester Rugby Club, cut that out. We cut training. Sad, I know, but you have to cut this out. We cut marketing. We cut hospitality. No more free meals. Listening to the news this morning, all these MPs getting tickets to Wimbledon.
No, that was civil servants.
Civil servants. Sorry, Mark. And some of you may not like this, but we cut professional fees, we cut accountants, we cut lawyers, we cut the quality. When I looked at my P&L for our worst year, my biggest expenditure on professional fees were my accountants. Rent rates and remuneration. Demand rent cuts and rebates threaten to move. After all, the landlord will have to pay rates on empty property. We got challenged by the local council to pay rates on an empty property we have. It looked a little bit like that one, actually. And we said, well, come and have a look at it, because we're not paying rates on this. They wanted to charge us £20,000. We gave them a hard hat, and we made them sign a form that says, if you die on our premises, it's not our fault. And we took them into this premises and they said, you're right, you can't pay rates on this. So if you've got derelict, empty property, don't pay rates on it. But the government has changed, or the councils have changed their rules, and you have to pay rates on empty property. Balance sheet engineering. The first thing that most people tell you is you can't revalue assets in your balance sheet. Yes, you can. You can look at your property. It may not be a good time to revalue your property at the moment, but we found a large amount of money in this beautiful place, which was the old Stowfield Hospital, if anybody knows you, and we hadn't got it on the balance sheet at the right amount, so we were able to revalue it. We also realised that we had something called support stock, but actually it was support assets. We run a very big support book. We have assets which we don't sell, it's not stock, and we've been writing them down. Actually, the true value of that equipment in our business was much, much more than we were stating, because if we'd lost it in a fire and had to replace it to keep our support book going, that would be the true value. So we were able to rebuild our balance sheet quite quickly to go from an insolvent position to a solvent position. Don't take currency risks. If I had been risking currency like I used to, and I learnt my lesson when Norman Lamont took us out of the exchange rate mechanism back in the early 90s, I would have lost the business in the last 3 months, because most of our supplies come from US dollar-related supplies. So I always forward buy. And I use exchange rate windows in my quote. So I say this to customer, this quote is valid for 30 days, but even in that 30 days, if the exchange rate goes outside these 2 windows, I reserve the right to rewrite this quote. And I'm not going to buy the stuff for you at a loss. A few home truths. Talk about it. What Mike said. Talk to your bank. Talk to people. If people say, how's it going? I say, it's bloody awful. And they say, oh, how can we help you? Can we give you a bit more credit time? Can we stretch things out? Talk about it. Don't say I'm great. Talk about it. Be open. Keep, promote and trust loyal staff. When you have to start cutting off legs, make sure you don't cut off the good leg. Important. Always question costs everywhere. I've driven my accountants' costs right down through the floor, to the point where, although I have a long relationship with them, I know them really, really well, I get some of my staff to say, there are other people out there, if you don't give us the right prices, we'll go and talk to them. Cut out any unnecessary expense, whatever it is. Sell the second car. Downsize the car. Cut out consultants. I'm sorry for those of you who are consultants, but if I don't know and understand it myself, if I can't do it myself, why should I pay somebody else to tell me something? More often than not, I find they tell me what I already knew. So cut out the consultants. Cut out asking lawyers and accountants for advice. I had a finance director who, wherever I gave him a challenge, he used to phone up our accountants and say, give me the answer on this, and he would get a bill for £400, or maybe more. We don't need that. If I had a finance director working for me, he's earning enough money to know that answer himself, for goodness sake. Never take financial risks, not like the banks. Delegate with care. Monitor and manage daily. And the most important thing, and I'm a bit of a spreadsheet man myself, know your 12-month sales and overhead forecast. Absolutely, precisely. Know exactly what you're going to have at the end of 12 months.
Finally, we have Councillor Julie Gurley. Now, Julie is a member of the Cabinet at Gloucestershire County Council, which incidentally now holds the record for the lowest council tax rise of any county council over the whole of the last 4 years. Julie sets out some of the steps that the County Council is taking to support local businesses in Gloucestershire.
spend about £400 million a year in the county council. So that means an awful lot of the money circulating in the local economy. If you add together that of the 6 district councils in Gloucestershire, an awful lot of the money circulating in the local economy is actually coming from your local authorities. So when we talk about prompt payments at the county council, what we're talking about is certainty of payment, not necessarily early payment. And 30 days is our target. So what we're actually saying to local businesses is, whilst we don't think that we can cut to 14 days, because it would have significant effects on our own cash flow, what we can do is give you certainty that we will pay in the 30 days. And I think one of the strong messages we get from business is that it's that certainty that's almost as important as the length of time. Members of the county council, as far as the current economic situation goes, we've spotted an opportunity to get our officers to loosen up, if you like, because there's no better reason for doing so than to support local businesses through a difficult time. So we have challenged them to look at how we might challenge our procurement policies to make it easier for us to make the decisions to buy from local companies. So what we have done is we've set up a gateway, a procurement gateway, which some of you may be familiar with. And that will apply to all product and service contracts over £50,000 per annum. Many of you in the room won't actually be in that bracket, but many of you will. And for that, you now only have to fill in the tortuous tenders once. We're developing a policy which you'll all be familiar with those questions councils ask about your employment policies, for example, which we have to ask. We are now going to be asking you a question about what are you doing to promote local business and local enterprise, so that then becomes part of our policy. We can then, if legally challenged by someone from outside of Gloucestershire, which of course is the problem if we do give preference to Gloucestershire applicants, we can then say, but we have a policy in place that requires people doing business with us to have a policy in place themselves which promotes local business. And of course then we've got the possible discounts for business rates. Well, on this, for small businesses, there is business rate relief available up to 50% and up to a ceiling of about £15,000. And again, that's available through Forest of Dean, so please get in touch with them if you feel that you're in difficulty and you want to talk to them about getting business rate relief for a period. It doesn't go on forever. And of course, it was mentioned before about empty properties. If you think that you're eligible for discount on empty properties, again, get in touch with Forest of Dean. At the County Council, we are going to be setting up a local shop member champion, which probably sounds dreadful to you, but what that means is that one member in each district area will be responsible for helping, being a help point for local retail. And that might mean just getting the council to do something as simple as repair the pavement outside some important local shops. Because it might not be the worst bit of pavement in that area, so it might not be the next one on the list that we're going to do. But if there's an economic reason why we should do it, because people aren't using those shops, because they don't like the state of the pavement or the road, then that needs to push it further up our list. So those local retail champions will be the people that we'll be asking to look at that.